Welcome, welcome everyone. We are back again today for another daily teaching. Day 9, mastering a conversation. And today I'm going to share with you the teaching that's completely changed my life. If I could pick one thing where I put it into practice and instantly I found my knowing, it worked like a treat. And every time I've used it ever since, every time I've shared it that other people have used it, it works every time. And when you get that knowing in that experience and see the change that takes place, you'll carry it with you always. It's a superpower. So I made a phrase in one of the other teachings to listen like a stone with ears. So I'm going to explain this concept. Imagine a stone with ears, no face, no mouth to speak, no expressions, no nodding up and down. It's just a stone with ears. You're there to listen. Listening is the superpower. And it's listening where you will know so much more about yourself, and you'll learn even more about others. And just by listening, without doing anything else, can change someone's life massively. And I've seen this every single time. So I learned this on my coaching course. This must have been back in 2018. And on the coaching course, you are paired with a mentor, someone that has gone through the course before. And they say to you, there's a day on the course and you do this exercise called listen like a stone with ears. It's the best day of the course. You'll love it. So it's something that we were told about, something we're looking forward to. And that was all we was really given. And one of the exercises was a group of 3. There was the coach, the coachee, and then there was someone observing the conversation. So the only rule was that the coachee was to speak and talk about any topic they wanted to for 10 minutes. And as the coach, your job was to be there and listen. No words whatsoever. Listen like a stone with ears, complete stillness. And even when they stopped talking, you had to hold the silence. You had to be present in that moment. And all the egos would go off. I can't speak for 10 minutes on my own. I'm being coached. I want the coach to say something too. It'd be awkward. Awkward silences is a label that's been given, even used by myself. And I was that person that was awkward in the silence. They used to call me Calamity because I'd say things and people would give me that look like, why have you just said that? Awkward silences. Yet silence now is magical. And when you can hold the silence, to be still, it means you're confident in yourself. Especially when there's someone else opposite you. And as you go on this journey, putting this into practice, you start realizing that people just talk all the time. And within a conversation, they talk, and they're not even paying attention to yourself. In fact, many times you'll find that you're not even involved in the conversation. They just continue talking. And as a coach, I realized quite quickly from doing this exercise that I was never coaching before. I was a personal trainer for at least 16 years. And I thought I was the best coach. Always good advice. I was great with helping my friends when they had asked me for help. I wasn't coaching. I was putting my agenda on there. Coaching, I soon realized quite quickly, was all about listening. So on the course initially, it was into practice. And because there's 3 of you on the call, when there is that silence, you're all kind of just waiting because, oh, this is it. And the person is being coached start speaking again. And it's almost like, oh, that's it. So I'll explain this a bit more where I had my knowing. Because once I did the course and I witnessed the three of us experience it together, it was powerful. Yet the real power when I then became a mentor for this coaching academy, and I had my own apprentice I was mentoring, and I was there just to be there if he needed help, share my experiences. And when we had a catch-up call, I said, look, you're going to be doing something on the course a bit later on, but do this on your next call, your practice call. Listen like a stone with ears. No face expressions, no words, no nodding up and down, no yeah. Just listen like a stone with ears. So he's now working with his practice client, and he left me a voice note on WhatsApp. And I still say to this day, this must be the happiest voice note I've ever received. And all he did was listen, having a conversation. And he said, Harry, it worked. You never guess what. I listened like a stone with ears. And then I asked her a question. I just held the silence. And she started answering, and then she stopped. And he said, it was there for about 45 seconds. And my ego's going off. I'm going to ask a question. And he said, I was just about to ask a question because the silence got a bit too long. And then as I was about to speak, she asked the question I was going to ask her out loud to herself. And then she answered it. And he said, I was going mental inside. It was amazing. And then she started going, oh, you're a brilliant, coach. And he said, I didn't even do anything. I didn't say anything. And that was something I took away is I've been in coaching sessions where it's a 90-minute call. And sometimes I haven't said a word within an hour. And you say, oh, I get paid for not doing anything. And it's a big correction with that statement. No, you are doing everything. You're being there, allowing people to get these feelings into words to express themselves and giving them the space and time without judgment, because there's no face expressions from you, to then come up with their own answers and solutions. And it's such a knowing, and I do it all the time. We had an online community that I set up a few years ago. And at one point we had about 19 people on the call. And this is the first thing we'd teach. Remember, we're in a space, we're all together. Appreciate everyone is unique. Everyone has a voice and everyone is here to be heard, to be listened to. So we teach in this concept. And there used to be silence, maybe 3 minutes. And you see people getting a bit uncomfortable moving, but we say, just stay with it. I promise you'll notice a difference. And then whoever is talking will come out with something even more magical. And so many people say that feeling of being in the silence, I'm so cool with it now. Like, I actually look forward to it. I get excited about being in there. And it's so, so powerful. So this is something I really want you to start working on, because quite quickly you see that even when you're in your conversations with your loved ones, especially the ones that trigger you, that you do not truly listen. And usually whilst they're talking, we're trying to find a question to ask or something to come back and say, and we're waiting for the gap to then say it. And because we're waiting and we're focusing on that next thing comes out of our mouth, we're not paying any attention. So it really helps you become present. And in that silence, you notice so much about them, more than what's the words are coming out their mouth. The words is the last thing. So we looked at the ego in conversations. We've now paid attention to words, the negative and positive. And within the conversations, we looked at just bringing awareness for a number of different things. And because you're going to have conversations your entire life with many people, this is an ongoing practice. And what's beautiful about it, you will get your knowing quite quickly on the power of listening like a stone with ears, the power of silence. Then you'll get awareness to self. And then you start paying attention to your own body language. And I started learning very quickly that I moved a lot. A woman I fell in love with said, "You move all the time, all the time." So I thought I was Mr. Present in conversations. I'm there being still, but I was moving, fidgeting. So now I've mastered listening like a stone with ears. I then work on me being still to the point where I'm so still. There's no face expressions. Whatever they're saying, negative, positive, emotional, I can hold a straight face. Very good at that too. And it's those times where people really need that. They just need a soundboard. I call it a soul soundboard. They need to lay it all out and know that whatever they say, there's a trust in that space. And we can use the equivalent to this group. There's a trust in this space now, and I can see that by all of your shares. So you're now being able to share with comfort, with trust, knowing it will be read and received. And also there's feedback coming from people. You'll turn it into coaches. And this is even more powerful when we take it to the next level, interaction, face to face. We live in a world of a digital information where we can have face to face on a screen. You feel the energy. When you do it in person, it's even more powerful. And you then start learning more about other people. So for each thing that you work on, I always say it's like the power of freeze, because you do it first time, you learn a lot. You're aware of so much more. How would you change it? What's your reflection? How can you improve it? What could you work on? So you go again and you go again, and you get to a point where, well, I've mastered that bit. Now I've mastered being still. I've mastered my face expressions. So then you start looking at them. And as I said in the other call, there's so many things to bring awareness to beyond words. Face expressions, body language, fidgeting, the tone of their voice, the passion. That's one thing that we're going to pay right attention to on this. Any conversation, passion is the key. When someone speaks with passion, with joy, with enthusiasm, they're in flow. You're unable to do that unconscious. You're in flow, and the real passion is they're engaged with you. They're in the moment. You can see it. Sometimes they get lost and then they just go off on one. Yet it's the passion part which is key, because that is something we can always bring awareness to at any point. So by being present in these conversations, we learn about them too. We also looked at setting boundaries and placement and going into conversations. And I said to protect your energy and even avoid going into conversations if you're seeing there from fear, if they're angry. However, we know that people are in fear and angry all the time. It's almost automated in their system. So they need someone to listen to them more than any. So listening like a stone with ears for people in fear, you then work on your reaction. Their reaction, no reaction, you know your reaction is stillness. And then the emotions you'll see will shift. So you work on becoming the observer of your inner body. I encourage people to stay within the inner body. When you're speaking to someone, bring awareness to the pulse on your wrist. Bring awareness to your heartbeat as they're speaking. Because you're not getting then hooked onto the words, you're staying present. You're in your inner body. And in that silence, what you also hear is that inner voice. And you start hearing the questions, and you start hearing sometimes the judgment or the observations. God, they're so angry. As I shared on the other teaching with my business partner, you hear that voice loud and clear. That's your soul. And because you are still, it has to be your soul. It's not nothing else. There's no distractions. There's no uncomfort. It's clear. It's clarity. So listen like a stone with ears. Apply to everything. And you can do it as a set intention. This conversation for the next 10 minutes with my kids, with my partner, with my parents, I'm just going to be there to listen and see what you notice. And like I said, this is all about life, mastering our life, mastery, when we put our life into practice and keep it going. So it's work in progress all the time. And you will get caught a number of times. So when you are met with aggression, hate, conflict, division, Sitting still in that uncomfort, again, it turns you into a warrior. Because if you then just work on the emotions with no reaction, you'll see it come and go. You'll hear the ego kick off. You'll hear that inner voice judging at times. But it doesn't come out in the open. You're not reacting to it. And this is where I've also noticed when it comes to face expressions, let's say people will say things wanting a reaction. There's certain people that will maybe say something a bit crude, something a bit offensive, and they expect the reaction. And when you keep still, it's kind of like a shock to them. And because you're silent too, they might say, why are you being silent for and stuff? You don't even need to acknowledge that. Just say, I was paying attention. I was really curious. I was noticing what you were saying. So you start building from it, because when people do get into these negative states, usually they're bad mouthing. They're being miserable about themselves. They're being negative. They're gossiping out about other people. So whilst you're hearing these words, the negative words, whilst you're seeing the way it's being delivered, you then can save it. It's like you take note. You freeze it, notice. Take note and know that you're going to have conversations again. And what I like to do now is bring awareness to the negative words, the triggers. I call myself a conductor within a conversation. I rarely let it go there now. I let them have their bit. I let it talk it out. But if they say the same thing again another time, you told me that already. And I noticed your energy the last time you taught me that. And I also noticed, this is the key, this is where the passion comes in, because it's so clear to see. I also noticed that when you talk about your kids, you light up. When you talk about being creative, you light up. Stop talking about that. Look at your energy. Let's go back onto what you love doing. People talk about what they're not doing, what doesn't work, what they did. Find the opposite. Tell me what is working. Tell me what you do want. Tell me what you do love. So you can use it as like a gauge for energy. You can notice when they're in fear, and when they start getting down, you want to ask the right questions and put them up again. Point out their energy. Bring awareness to it next time. The last 3 conversations, when you spoke about this, you were a different person. Like, you completely changed. Why are you not doing that more in your life? What's the reason? What's holding you back? And they feel it. They know. Energy, it's a know-in. They know it. And you've noticed them, which again is why listening is so important. So focus on this now. Next conversation. Be there. Be still. Listen. And let me know what comes up for you. I promise you, you will learn so much by doing this. And it is a superpower. And what you also realize is that every time we've gone into conversations before, we leave and we feel we didn't get our words out. We didn't say what we wanted to say. We reacted or overreacted to their words. You realize that it's still all down to you. All of it. Because if you then went into the conversation next time from that place of stillness, silent, to hear, you start seeing that it was your reaction at some point, your judgment, your face expression. We disagree on certain topics that people talk about, but that's not your place too. If they ask you, which usually you'll find most people don't ask any questions in a conversation, it's all about them. But if they do ask you, then you can give them an answer. But make it about them. And then when you need someone to talk to, just notice how they show up for you, because there are people that you can have really good conversations with. And with this extra awareness, you realize that actually these people are really important to me in my life. And you will become that rock. You'll turn into a rock from the stone for other people. And you will meet with people that you've had a relationship for a long time, and they're used to you being a certain way. So they turn up to you with problems, with dramas, and then you go, I'm so sorry. I can't believe they said that. How dare they? It's out of order what they did to you. You're literally just jumping in the hole with them. I imagine that they're in the well, I'm at the top. You've got to come up to my level first. Meet me up here. I'm not going down there. Well, you come up from the well, you are well. You're feeling well. So let us even look at the power of listening. Because all the clues are in the words, which will be one of my next talks. So the word silent, if you use those letters and rearrange them, is to listen. We hear the phrase, hear, hear. Well, when you're listening, you are hearing. You hear. And by listening to hear, you are here. Hear, hear. So you're present. You are the gift. You are being present. You're the gift for them. It's the best present they can have all year round, is you in the stillness. And when people are ill down the dumps and stuff as well, practice. And this is also then allows you to protect your energy even more because you are so still, because it is so clear to see, because you are now aware of the words that they're saying, of their energy. If that keeps continuing, then it should be an instant no or a change, or point something out, make them aware of it. We're quite quick to get annoyed that they did this and they said that, and now they're not doing this, and now, yet no one's made them aware. We're quick to blame, and we don't point anything out. And we have to find the right time to do that. So when you create the environment of that soul soundboard, sometimes that's a great point because you can point out the negative, but put it in the middle. When you spoke about that last time, you lit up. Every time you speak about that and you go back into it all the time, it's like you're choosing to look at your energy now. So what is it that does bring you joy? And then finish with that or a question. And again, they change. I shared a book recommendation, Time to Think, Nancy Kline, and More Time to Think, Nancy Kline on Audible. And they talk about the saying, the power of listening, being still. So people, I'd like to see what comes up for you. Again, I know there'll be an excitement to put this into practice and work on that stillness, because the ego goes off. There is an uncomfort, and sometimes they might react, why are you not saying anything? But usually they don't even notice. And then start working on finding your knowings. And you start seeing there's certain topics that certain people have a similar reaction to. They got a similar outlook on life. They got similar values. Their energy's the same, quite negative on certain things because it's an unconscious trait. When people are unconscious, they're on repeat. So here, I'm here. But if you hear it from someone else, you've heard it from someone else. Herd is sheep, a herd of sheep. It's a sheep mentality. So bring it inwards, take ownership. You're hearing. You're here now. If you flip the word now around, you've won. So we're going to go into the power of words, the clues in the words. And then we can start bringing awareness to the different layers within a conversation. And you start finding your own things that you wasn't aware of before. Do it with kids. When you've got full eye contact with them and you're picking up on their energy and you're there, you're sharing that energy space with them, it'll be so powerful that some of these conversations you have will stay with them for the rest of their life. Life-changing conversations. So thank you for listening and work on being that stone. Sending lots of love, everyone. And I'll catch you up in the group.